Good afternoon. My name is Mike Derricott, and I'm the Chief Administrative Officer for the Town of Edson, or the Town Manager, for those who may not recognize me. It's not all that common to see me in a video or in front of the camera, as you will, as that is something that is often left to council. One of my key roles as the Chief Administrative Officer is also to act as the Director of Emergency Management, who is responsible to chair the Emergency Coordination Center team. One of the things we've heard as we have moved through the COVID-19 pandemic is some questions about who the ECC team was and what council's role is in all of the decisions that have been made. So one thing I wanted to start with as I try to answer a number of questions that people have, we'll get to the mandatory facial covering bylaw obviously as part of this as well, is to clear up the roles of the Emergency Coordination Center team versus council. In an emergency response situation such as we're in, the Emergency Coordination Center becomes the sole decision-making body for emergency response. That body is made up of our senior management group of the Town of Edson. So it is not your elected officials, Town Council, although they form an important advisory function for emergency management. So when we talk about who made the ultimate decision to enact the mandatory facial covering bylaw, that was myself as the Director of Emergency Management. A decision that I'm confident is in the best interest of our community and that had the support of our Emergency Management Advisory Committee, which is your Town Council. So if you do have questions or concerns about that, although we encourage you to interact and speak with your elected officials, contacting us here at the town office via email or through messaging on social media is probably the most effective way to get specific questions answered. I have a few of the frequently asked questions, I'll call them, that we want to share with you this afternoon, but you'll see attached to this video a list of other questions. If I don't cover them all, I do encourage you to take a moment to read that document so that you can see some of the finer information as we've moved into what is admittedly an awkward and uncomfortable position for all of us and for our community. And I wanted to start with why we feel it's valuable for us to be taking this step as a community at this time, knowing that it does have some inconvenience to individuals and businesses and others. A few of the factors that have been pointed out as the discourse has gone on regarding the enactment of this bylaw is the number 10 of 10 active cases being a key threshold for us considering enacting the bylaw. This is accurate. However, I would just add that it was identified as one of many variables that would be considered. A few of the key variables include the regional profile of the spread of COVID-19, which has been a more relevant factor for us in this decision, and perhaps the most relevant factor for us is the continued increase in the stress on Alberta's medical system, in particular acute and intensive care capacity. That means that each case of COVID-19's risk is higher now than it was at any other point during the pandemic because the pressure on the medical system is as high as it has been throughout. With all of those variables in consideration, the Emergency Coordination Center team, with support of Town Council, did decide to enact our mandatory facial covering bylaw, which will be active for at least 2 weeks, at which time those variables for risk level in our community will be reviewed. As those risk levels go down, we can consider at some point beyond that 2 weeks rescinding the mandatory facial covering practices that are pointed out in the bylaw. I would ask you to start with the bylaw. If you do have questions, you can go and read some of the parameters and principles there that are in place. A few quick points that I would point out. This bylaw does not supersede or override any other regulations from the province of Alberta. So mandatory facial coverings in schools and school buses and school-related activities are all still in place as per the province in relation to educational facilities. This goes for other regulated activities, restaurants, pubs, other places where they are allowing people to be and eating and drinking without wearing masks. I refer you, as always, to our continual stream of connection through our Facebook channel, through our app, through our website, where we connect you to the latest from the province wherever we possibly can to ensure that you have access to the most up-to-date information possible. I want to assure you that we are well aware of the many and diverse opinions regarding COVID-19 and masks and their effectiveness and all that comes along with it. We ask that regardless of any of your positions or any of your opinions, as strongly as held as they may be and as valid as they all are, that we engage with kindness and courtesy both in that dialogue, but in particular as you're out and about interacting with each other. Please, at the very basic nature of this, be kind. Be kind to each other, be patient. We're all working through a difficult situation. We feel that these masks will help to keep our community safe, to keep our businesses open, to keep our schools open, to keep us on the path to move through COVID-19 with the least disruption to all of our lives as we possibly can. And we assure you that that is our objective and that is our goal. At the end of the day, we want the least amount of people to suffer greatly and ultimately, unfortunately, to lose their lives to this pandemic as we possibly can. Thank you in advance for your consideration and for your concern, and be safe, and we thank you for honoring this bylaw wherever possible.